If we know these roots, we can influence our physical state to become healthy and successful as well. People who get angry, for example, start having problems with their liver and bile. But if you are psychologically healthy, that is, you are balanced, you have motivation, meaning, and a purpose in life, then your body won't produce these toxins. Seeing the positive behind every negative situation. In other words, nothing is truly bad everywhere. There is the Creator. That's how these settings work. Hello, dear friends and subscribers of our channel. Today we have a very interesting topic for everyone who wants to learn about health, about the physical body, why it is structured the way it is and not otherwise, how to properly balance yourself physically and psychologically, and how one is connected to the other. So stay with us, watch the video until the end, subscribe to our channel, give us a like, become sponsors, and be people who bring goodness into this world. Do you know why our brains are at the top, the heart is in the middle, and the liver is at the bottom? That's what we're going to discuss today. Many people know how the body is structured, but not many know why it is structured this way and not another. For example, we all see that we have 5 fingers on our hands, but why not 6, 7, or 3? Why exactly 5? That's something people don't know. Or why do we have 2 eyes instead of 1? Maybe it would be much more convenient if we had just 1 eye, and we could see like yogis who try to develop a 3rd eye so they don't have to use 2 eyes. We could see auras, see other things. Why exactly were 2 eyes put into our bodies? After all, you probably realize that our body, our organism, didn't appear just because nature created us, but because there is some kind of design and hidden meaning behind all of this. I will start gradually, step by step, telling everything from the beginning to the end. So, we have the liver, the heart, and the brain. These are the 3 main receptors that serve the entire internal system of our body. And we know that people who get angry, for example, start having problems with their liver and bile. They say bile is the bitterness that is secreted in the body. It helps process food. But when it is secreted excessively, it starts causing problems in the stomach, burning the stomach. It also creates stones. What influences it to start being secreted so much? You need to know that there are natural elements called fire, air, earth, and water. They are also present in our bodies. So, this warmth, fire, in other words, body temperature, rises and falls. People who have a strong temperament, specifically those who get angry or irritated, increase the natural heat in their bodies, and this affects them in such a way that they start to secrete excess bile. And this bile pollutes the body in such a way that it starts to burn it from the inside. Because of this, many people develop stomach problems, or what is called today, gastritis. You should know, if you want to understand more deeply why everything is arranged this way, that in reality, everything originates from the roots of the spiritual worlds. Since we have 4 main worlds, called Asiya, the world of action, Yetzirah, the world of angels, Beriah, the world of souls, and Atzilut, the world of divine presence, where there is nothing but the Creator. So, these 3 organs I want to talk to you about today, the liver, the heart, and the brain, correspond to these 3 worlds. And it is exactly in this way that prayer rises, or how our desire ascends through these worlds, and it happens to all of us, even if you're not aware of it, it's happening to you. It rises from the world of action to the world of angels, from the world of angels to the world of souls, and higher still to the very divine presence, from where the answers then come. So, the liver corresponds to the world of action. And when a person takes food inside, their liver is the first to process it, keeping within itself all the dirtiest, all the worst things in that food, the toxins. And all the purest, the very cleanest blood, it sends up to the heart. If the liver didn't work as a filter and didn't purify the substance that enters it as nourishment for the body, that is, the blood, then this dirty blood would rise to the heart and the person would die. Exactly the same thing happens in the spiritual worlds. When a person in the world of action begins to choose what is true, what is false, what is beneficial, and what is harmful. So it's not just about the physical, but for the soul as well. For example, today there are a lot of mass media outlets that pollute our consciousness with all sorts of depressing information. A person listens to them nowadays and then can't be calm or happy. They start having panic attacks. What does this mean? It means that their world of action is polluted. He doesn't know what is good, what is evil, what is useful, what is not. He just stuffs himself with everything, any information, and it pollutes his perception. His perception also has a kind of filter, like the liver. It's called nefesh. So, just as our liver cleanses and retains toxins within itself, giving pure blood to the heart, which, as the center, then distributes this blood throughout the body, and the purest part of it rises to the brain. In the same way, our perception, if it knows what it should properly take in, that is, if it works as a filter, blocks all the informational waste, and only takes in the good, the right information that benefits us. Then, in the heart of our perception, not the physical heart in the body, but the very center of perception, pure energy, pure information rises. And, accordingly, it enriches the mind, that is, the mind of perception, the highest point, which brings us an answer, a pure answer from its spiritual root. What kind of answer? A positive attitude, a blessing, a positive outlook on reality, less criticism of ourselves and others, the ability to see the positive aspect behind all negative situations. In other words, there is nothing bad. The Creator is present everywhere. And that's how these filters work. Just like in our body, let me repeat, the liver keeps the toxins for itself, sends clean blood up to the heart distributes everything to the organs, and even purer blood is sent up to the brain. So, in the same way, we also need to learn how to tune the inner organs of our soul, not just those of the body. You should know that everything we have in our body is an exact reflection of the structure of the spiritual world. Nothing is random. For example, the 5 fingers on our hands, they symbolize the 10 sphirot. There are exactly 10 sphirot, no more, no less. And the Almighty created them so that through them we could perceive the world, interact with each other, and with Him. And we don't need more than these 10 instruments. If we count all the joints on our hands, that is, on our fingers, you'll see that there are exactly 14 on each hand. That is, 3 on each of the 4 fingers and 2 on the thumb, making 14 in total. The number 14 is the exact numerical value of the word hand in Hebrew. Yud, Dalet in Hebrew is Yad. If we take the 14 joints of one hand and the other and add them together, we get the numerical value 28. 28 is the numerical value of the word strength in Hebrew, coach. What does the divine wisdom of Kabbalah tell us about this? It tells us that our body is structured exactly like the spiritual worlds, because when the right quality and the left quality come together, they form the middle line. The middle line is precisely that force which allows a person to live in harmony and balance. If his right side outweighs, then he is in a state of passivity. He cannot actively perceive the world. He is lazy, he is heavy. It is hard for him to change his states, to move forward. If he is only in the left quality, then he feels strong, eager to achieve something, but disconnected from love, from warmth. He becomes cold, calculating, callous. And that's the other extreme. Any of us can end up in these states, not in the balanced force of the middle line, and then a person begins to get sick. That's why it's recommended for people who are psychologically exhausted, who feel anxious. When a person hugs another person, it affects the balance within them. In other words, the left and the right embrace each other. And this helps a person to calm down. That's why we feel calmer when someone hugs us. So it's good to do this from time to time, to practice these kinds of exercises, to hug each other. You should also know that when a person fasts, the process is completely the opposite of when they eat. Because when a person eats, the liver processes the food and sends it up to the heart processes it and sends it up to the brain. But when a person fasts, the process is reversed. Since the body has nowhere to get blood from, because it comes from the processing of food through all these filters, the liver, the heart, the brain, there is no such supply. So the body starts looking for where to get this resource so that blood can enter the system. And then the blood starts to flow down from the brain. That's why many people may feel headaches or weakness while fasting. Why does it flow downward? The purest blood is in the brain. As we said, the heart sends blood to all the organs, and the purest substance rises to the brain. When we fast, this purest blood substance descends from the brain and nourishes the whole body. And that's why many people use fasting as a treatment, as you probably know. This is exactly what causes the body to cleanse itself. The pure blood flows there. That's why sometimes fasting can be used as a treatment. It helps. There are also even deeper mysteries to this, connected to spiritual worlds that are not related to our physical body. Our body is designed in such a way that it reflects these functions of the spiritual worlds. That's why it works like this. In other words, when a person psychologically or spiritually stops focusing on themselves, this is called fasting in the spiritual sense. It means to stop receiving. And then, from above, when he stops engaging in this, he starts to feel this spiritual root more and more strongly, rising up to the world of the mind, the world of thought, the world where thought begins. This is the divine world. And from there, answers begin to come to him, the presence, the light that the wisdom of Kabbalah speaks about. It begins to spread from above downward and clothe itself in the vessels, and the consciousness of the person who has withdrawn from the world of action, the liver, from the world of emotions, the heart, and rises to the world where his thought begins, because he even stops thinking about his material needs. And this is called a spiritual fast. If a person is also able to draw the light for others, then it is as if he has arranged a feast in this world for his beloved friends or is feeding his children. But all of this happens on a spiritual level when a person knows how to draw the light for others. That's why these spiritual exercises are very similar to how our physical organs function. And by the way, someone who does this can also influence their own psychological well-being. And if you are psychologically healthy, that is, you are balanced, you don't get angry or upset, your thoughts are focused on a single goal, you have motivation, meaning, and a purpose in life, then your body also won't produce these toxins, because, as we mentioned at the beginning of the video, when you get angry or upset, bile and bitterness are released in the body, the liver heats up more, stones form, gastritis develops, and as a result, the liver functions poorly, sending bad blood to the heart, which damages the entire endocrine system. The person becomes nervous, blood vessels constrict, some kind of nervous disorders begin, and it could even, God forbid, lead to a person losing the use of an arm or leg, or starting to have joint pain. All of this doesn't just come out of nowhere. It has its roots in your psychological and spiritual states. They even say that a person is bitter or greedy, and so on. Physical body is like a spiritual map. It's no coincidence that in various esoteric traditions, people started saying, for example, that there are certain spiritual centers in the body, like chakras, as they say in yoga. There are 7 of them. But why 7 and not 18 or 21 or 3? Because everything is structured from the 10 sphirot. And the 7 sphirot of the body, called Chesed, Gevurah, Tiferet, Netzach, Had, Yesed, and Malchut, these are the very sphirot that reveal the divine light in vessels suitable for perceiving it. And the 3 upper sphirot, Keter, Chakma, and Bina, hover above the body like a divine muse. They do not clothe themselves in it, but they nourish everything that is within it. That's why, when an artist or a musician is visited by a muse, they must express it specifically through the 7 notes, the 7 colors, the 7 chakras, the 7 planets, the 7 days of the week. In other words, you see, these 7s appear everywhere. They operate everywhere, both in our bodies and in the global structure of the universe. You can also see this in your sensory organs in your head: 2 eyes, 2 ears, 2 nostrils, and a mouth. These are the windows through which information enters your perception. You perceive the world through these windows, through these entry points. Therefore, if you want your consciousness to be healthy, you need to pay attention to what you look at, what you listen to, what you smell, what you say, and what you eat. All of this affects your perception. If you constantly hear malicious speech, there's no way you won't end up in a depressive state. If you are constantly being told about bad things, if your eyes see violence, for example, in movies and in the media, all sorts of horrors, there's no way you will have good dreams, for instance, or that you'll think positively about people or about yourself. All of this gets recorded inside you. All of this enters you. If you eat unhealthy food, it leads to unhealthy deposits in your body. A bad smell puts a person in a bad mood. He can't stay focused on the positive in that environment. All of this has an effect. And everywhere we see this number 7. This 7 is present everywhere. Why 7? Because the 3 upper spheres are always above our world, above the world of reality. This is the hidden world. And that's why, in our hidden part, in the skull, we have 2 brain hemispheres opposite Chakma and Bina. When they interact, when someone's Chakma and Bina interact well, that is formed, that is, a synthesis between intellectual knowledge and imagination. An interaction arises between the right and left hemispheres, and, for example, we see an apple and know what it is. That is, we have the inner meaning of the object and its image. These are the 2 hemispheres that create this holistic picture of the universe in our perception, which we can perceive, use, and understand what we see and what we perceive. This is because the hidden worlds, Chakma and Bina, are like 2 hemispheres inside the head, hidden from view. And there is also Keter, the crown. This is our faith, from which everything begins. Our perception, our mind, all start from here. We even believe that our mind is correct. Because if we didn't believe that we should rely on our own reason, we wouldn't use it. We would live in some other way. So, as you can see, everything interacts and everything takes its beginning and all its roots precisely from the 10 sphirot, according to which the worlds are also structured. Keter corresponds to Adam Kadmon. Chakma is Atzilut, Bina is Bariah, Tiferet is Yetzirah, and Malchut is the world of action, Asiya. And in the same way, this is how each of our souls is structured as well. It has a head, a body, and the end of the degree. That is, for example, spiritual legs. What are legs? In Hebrew, legs are raglaim, from the word hergel, habit. Everyone has certain habits. There are good habits, and there are bad habits. Good habits serve as the foundation for us to be able to exist normally. Bad habits lead a person to extremes, to the right or left extreme. That's why we see that our legs, too, are two lines. When we stand in prayer, we bring our legs together at attention, like soldiers. This is a symbol that we want to unite these two lines into a middle one, like the angels do. That is, so that there is once again a balance between the right and left sides, between the active and passive, between expression and nullification, between revelation and concealment, between the creator and creation, between the masculine and feminine principles. We must unite everything and learn to bring together all these opposites. That's why we need to understand all these structures of our body originate in the spiritual worlds, and the roots of creation in the Creator's design. If we know these roots, we'll be able to influence our physical state as well, making it healthy, normal, and successful. Besides health, there is also a blessing that extends from the spiritual worlds to those who are connected with these sphirot, with this divine wisdom, who know the Creator's laws and live by them. That's why I strongly recommend that all of you study the wisdom of Kabbalah and acquire books. And of course, for those who can, come to the school, study with us. We'll be happy to have you with us. We have enormous access to hidden information that you simply can't get today. Not because it doesn't exist, but because many people don't even know how to perceive it, how to explain what the ancients said. In our school, all of this is revealed. We study very deep topics. So don't miss your chance. Be healthy and happy, both psychologically and physically. And may the Almighty bless you.